Hello and welcome in the second video on the first side of Unit 9. We've just highlighted the verb forms in exercise 6 and you need those to complete this grammar box. Guys, the future simple is the tense we'll be talking about, as you can see here, is actually quite simple to form, right? It always consists out of the same two parts, right? You're going to use the auxiliary verb will, right? And then the bare infinitive. That's what you can see here. I will, or the contracted form, apostrophe LL, right? I'll travel to London by train. I think you can already guess what you need to fill in here in those lines. So I will, of course, travel by plane, or he, she, and so on. Let's have a look at the negative form, right? I will not, or the contracted form, maybe a bit more difficult, but I guess you knew it already, is won't, right? Will not becomes won't. I won't travel by plane. Everywhere the same, so you already know what you're going to fill in here. Of course, it won't, it won't travel by boat. Okay, it is a monster or something like that, I guess. Then, will I travel to New York? Yes, you will, right? Remember, these are short answers. You always need to copy the person and then the auxiliary verb. So in the future simple, that is of course will. So questions is always the same thing. You need inversion. That means that you're going to put the verb before the subject, and then this becomes, of course, will you travel by bus? Okay, so this form should be really easy. To form the future simple, we use, of course, will or won't, right? Positive or negative, plus the infinitive. Better is the bare infinitive, of course, because the infinitive also has to, and we're not writing to. Okay, the use, that's probably more interesting or a bit more complicated. So we use the future simple to talk about events in the future events. That's quite logical. How long will you stay there? We'll start our preparations tomorrow. We will start our preparations, right? Time indicators can be, that's always very important, just as the present perfect in the future unit. In the previous unit, the simple future also has a lot of typical time indicators. A few of them are tomorrow, next week, next weekend, next year, a few days, weeks, years later. So everything really that is in the future. Okay. There are also a few exceptions here. Let's have a look here. We can also use this construction to talk about future events. How long are you going to stay there? Okay, so if you would break this up, you would get something like, we can use the verb to be, right? The conjugated form is here are, plus going to, right? Going to, and then also the bare infinitive. Are you going to stay? Guys, this is also to talk about future events, but you actually get the explanation here. So in many cases you can choose freely between a future simple tense and be plus going to when you speak about future time. But be plus going to often stresses the idea of intention. Okay, next year you'll be learning about the fact that we are calling this construction the intentional future. This is really used to talk about intentions in the past, in future, a plan that you've made, right? Let's say you made a planning to study, and you're saying now, well, I'm going to study later on this afternoon, something like this, right? Because you have the intention to do that, right? The intentie in Dutch, the plan to do that, you're going to do it, and this is an intentional future. Okay, in 7. Pair up, read the following situations that happen when you are traveling. With your partner, agree on the best way of coping with each of them. Write down your solution. Okay, we don't have a partner, but we can do this exercise. Let's do one together so that you really understand what you need to do here. So, the situation is the following. Both of you have missed the last bus back to your hotel in Mayfair. What are you going to do? Going to future? Or what will you do? Future simple. Okay, the best thing you can do there is think of a sentence in future simple and a sentence with an intentional future, so going to deal with this situation. what you could, for instance, write here is, well, not a problem. We'll just call a taxi. We will call a taxi. Auxiliary verb will, bare infinitive call a taxi to get us there. Something like this. Let's have a look what they write here. So I will call for a taxi to take us back to the hotel, or we are going to walk back to the hotel. We'll sleep at the station, also an option. So you see that you have this future simple here, will plus bare infinitive, and in this case we have a plan, right? We are going to walk. This is the intention you have. So try the same for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The best you can do is always think of one future simple and one going to a future. In 8 you have to do exactly the same, but you have to write what you're not going to do. Okay, so the idea is here that you use future simple and going to future, but in a negative sentence. Okay, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. As we go on, we have arrived at 9. Complete the conversation by adding questions. So you have some of the, well, you have an example here. And you actually have to ask questions about these sentences. So we'll go shopping in Knightsbridge. There is Harrods, Fortnum and Mason, and there is the National Geographic store as well. So a question that you will ask here is probably a WH question. And you see that the answers always have future simple, right? We will go shopping in Knightsbridge. So that means, of course, that your question is also going to include a future simple. So ask a WH question, right, with a future simple in it. I'm not going to show it just yet. Okay, let's read the conversation on this phone. So Mary says, we're leaving tomorrow. Great, are you taking the train? No, we are flying from Brussels. Don't forget your ID, have a good time, and thanks London, here we come. Guys, I don't know if you can see this, but Marie here, or Mary, says we're leaving tomorrow. So this is actually something that takes place in the future. So we are still talking about the future here, but you should recognize this tense. Are leaving, that's to be plus ing form, that is, say it in your head, the ing form, so the present continuous, of course. So that's odd, right? We're speaking about the future, but we are using a present tense, the present continuous. This is just some rule. You can see another example here. Next week I am meeting some friends. So what you have to know here is that when you're talking about personal arrangements, things that are really arranged in the future, you use the present continuous. Okay, I would say that is a bit confusing. Because, as I said, it is a present tense used to talk about the future. So, personal arrangements in the future, present continuous. Okay, complete the chat conversation. This is actually an exercise to see how well you understand this, and you have to use the present continuous. This exercise should be really easy for you guys because the present continuous is something we dealt with a long time ago. So, always the same, to be plus ing form. Then in 12, you get some web pages and you are actually looking up for a good place to stay in London, right? You're traveling to London in the near future and you want to stay somewhere nice. So have a look at this web page. I think it's from booking.com. And the idea is that you're going to answer some of the questions here, right? So for instance, does the hotel offer price reductions or discounts? If so, how much? So you should be able to find this information on these pages and then fill in all the information here. Okay, read through the Did You Know? This is to talk about vocabulary on hotels, right? Or just accommodation, I should say. So hotel suite, ensuite, or ensuite. Private bathroom, a double room, a double bed. The difference between a twin room and a double room, for instance. VAT is the value added tax, and so on. Read this through, that can help you. And then we're getting there, by the way. Okay, complete the reviews here. Use words from exercise 12 and 13. So this is mainly a vocabulary exercise. I'll go back for a second. So in here and in here, you'll need some words, or you'll need to remember some of the words to use in exercise 14. So here you can, of course, see that there are a few words missing, and you can find them in exercise 12 and 13, as I said. Alright, the last thing then that you need to do is write a formal email. Guys, we've done this before in class, and this is the second time you'll need to do it. So write an email to your friend about the hotel room that you wish to book for your next trip to London. Explain what type of room it is. So again, use the vocabulary. That's really the writing exercise here, and what facilities it offers. So of course you get a few good sentences or good examples that you can use in the yellow grid. I'll zoom in on it for a second. And try to use them, of course. The best thing you can do is always use future simple or a going to future. So try to do that. So write an email to your friend about the hotel room that you wish to book for your next trip to London. I said a formal email before. It's better to write an informal email. It's to a friend. And explain what type of room it is. Okay, that's actually it. So remember to use a good salutation here and also at the end. And that's it. So if you've done this, you're finished for today or for the English course of this week. And then next week we'll deal with the second part on London is always a good idea and the green pages again. So thanks for being here again, and we'll see you very soon in a live session. Bye.